Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 stars Tom Cruise, Haley Atwell, Isaiah Morales, and among others. And in this story, it deals with Ethan Hunt and his team that have to save the world from a powerful artificial intelligence known as the Entity. And the Entity is pretty much being run by this terrorist group that's run by Isaiah Morales. And there's some history that goes on with Isaiah Morales, his character, and Ethan Hunt as the movie follows. Now, here's a little backstory. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, I actually did a retrospective of the Mission Impossible series with me and Eddie back in 2018 when Mission Impossible Fallout came out, and I really enjoyed the series. And it seems to me that ever since they did the first one, that they've kept getting better and better as it goes along. Now, I wasn't too big of a fan of the second film, but since they did 3, it seems like they just keep getting better and better as it keeps going. And they've had some like minor issues on some of them, maybe here and there, but that kind of holds it back from some of the other ones. But overall, this is a franchise to me that still holds it strong, along with the John Wick series, where it's like each entry they keep going and topping the last one. They keep doing so much craft that's showing with Tom Cruise and his masterful stunts that he does, and a lot of the dedication that they do with keeping action movies like this growing. And it's saying a lot for a film that series has been going on for over 25 years, and especially since the original movie that came out was actually based on a TV series, and in a way, the first movie was more or less like a sequel to the original TV series. So if you want to count that, it's going on for pretty much over 60 years. But I can't get enough of these movies, and going into this one, I got me really excited because as so much that I love with Fallout, I kept wondering like where else we're going to keep going with this series, and knowing that this is going to be, well, possibly, we don't know yet for sure, but when it was announced that this is possibly going to be the last Mission Impossible franchise movies that we're getting with Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, it made me wonder like how they're going to do a good send-off with them, if that's the case with this one and Part 2 that they're setting up. Because I saw in a recent interview that supposedly Tom Cruise wants to keep still doing these movies until he's 80, like Harrison Ford's age, but I don't know. It just seems to me like it would probably be a good, perfect opportunity where if they can go out of their way to make a grander, really epic scale and have no all bets are off, so to speak, in the next one. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually get to that point where they do a proper send off and make it where it's on the most epic level. But we'll see. I mean, there's really no telling at this point. But going into this film, I couldn't be more excited because this is definitely one of my most anticipated films of the year for me. And after upon seeing the film, I can say that it delivered everything that I expected. It's everything that I love with this franchise the most, with a lot of the action, a lot of the the real stunts that Cruise does. There are some nice twists and turns that I find myself, liking on certain things, but then also kind of question some other things because I'm wondering how they're going to pay it off in the second film. But to get my pros out of the way, I got to say the cast in this are all phenomenal as usual. Cruise, once again, he not only kills it as Ethan Hunt, but also a man dedicated at his age doing all these stunts and stuff. It shows that he loves his craft, and he will go out of his way to do some of the most daredevil shit you can imagine, and not just count the bike chase, but also the stuff where he's like in that car with being handcuffed to Haley Atwell. From what I've been hearing, that was actually him going down the road and stuff, and also the set piece at the end where it comes to the train. That is some pretty, high octane kind of shit that you don't see anymore with a lot of these action films. And so the man just does it great as usual, and he really does a great job, doing the whole teamwork aspect with the rest of the cast as well, especially with the chemistry with him and Haley Atwell that I found as a good welcome addition to the franchise, because there's some stuff that we get filled in with a little bit of her character, but not a whole lot of backstory given. But the way that she kind of comes across as kind of, at first, kind of being like a thief, but then also kind of questioning her morality and stuff, I did like the way it was playing in with her character throughout. And in a way, I like that they found a really good balance between her just kind of being a more, regular, everyday kind of woman, and also, trying to also be on that kind of level with being on Hunt and his team and stuff. And so she really pulled it off, and she really did have some really good, awesome moments where she's, going with Cruise and stuff on a lot of these stunts and everything. And while it can be questionable with some of the things, longevity at the first half of the film with why she keeps kind of doing what she does, I still think that they were able to make it seem like it really earned it, especially when we get to the third act of why she does where they do this whole reveal of something that happens in the third act. And so that's when there's a choice that she makes in the third act that I think really plays into it really well with her character. And so she was a great addition. And then on top of that, the rest of the cast is always great too. Seeing Ving Rhames back as Luther. You know, other than Tom Cruise, he's been the one that's been in every one of these films, and I can't get enough of him. You know, I always love seeing Ving Rhames. And then, of course, you got Simon Pegg coming back and, you know, having some really fun comic relief here and there. Especially at the beginning when they're at this airport and they're trying to, you know, he's trying to basically crack the code to find this bomb inside this kind of, like, this bag that has this bomb inside of it. And the bag is basically controlled by AI where it knows its secrets about him and stuff. So I thought that was really not only funny, but also it was clever in how the AI in this is trying to really, you know, mess with the team and manipulate them in certain ways. And I really appreciate how, you know, it was able to give a lot more stuff to do with how each character has to, you know, go through their own, like, way of trying to outsmart the AI and stuff like that. And then on top of that, the other performances, you know, Vanessa Kirby coming back as the Black Widow was great. Ezra Morales, I've only really seen much in, like, from Ozark as the villain in that show, and I thought he was a great addition to this. And I do like how they given some good backstory with him and Tom Cruise's character with some stuff that I didn't really expect that they would do in this movie. And when they fill in with that, I think that it really plays into the whole, like, you know, trust in science and stuff like that, and the whole thing about choices and stuff. Because that really comes into big play with how characters talk about how, you know, you have to do certain things in order to outwit, you know, the villain in this case. And, you know, even though he doesn't get a whole lot of, like, you know, development as far as, like, know much about who he is necessarily in certain aspects, I still thought he was great, and the way he comes across as, you know, trying to really outsmart the team and stuff. I think that so far he's now probably the third, maybe either third or fourth favorite villain of the franchise, because I like Philip Seymour Hoffman as my favorite, and then I have a tie between Henry Cavill and Lane from the last movie. And then probably, I think Gabriel will probably be my fourth favorite, possibly. But he was excellent in this. And there's only kind of a minor thing about his character that I think that they could have probably pulled off better that I think they're probably saving for the second film. But I'll get to more of that in my con. But just a little con I have with the second, when I get into it later. But, you know, what can I say about the action scenes? You know, the movie is definitely well choreographed. Its fight scenes, you know, it's got a really great balance of, you know, mixing in a lot of the stunts that really, you know, blend in a whole lot of real life events, especially this whole sequence, like I said earlier, where Cruise is going down the road and, you know, handcuffed to Haley Atwell in this car. That scene reminded me a lot like Fast X, but I think, well, this one was done better, I think, a lot of ways because it was practical. But also just the way that, you know, a lot of the action scenes in this too, where there's really no music playing, I think it does really build a whole lot of the realistic level, or grounded level that they're going for in this, that I think really pushed a whole lot of the stakes higher. So I appreciate that, you know, the music to its advantage is really great too, you know, hearing the classic theme and stuff, but I do like kind of the softer moments where you don't really hear much music playing in an action scene. And I think that really adds a whole lot of layers to the way that, you know, you're trying to really showcase a lot of the visuals and stuff and really feel the edge when shit's going down. On top of that, you know, I also really, the grand scale of this thing too, you know, especially with it being on the train and stuff. The climax alone, I think, really tops it with, even topped the first movie in terms of going on a train again, because there's some callbacks they kind of do with, you know, if it being on top of the train and stuff, especially seeing Kittredge come back, played by the same actor. He was great, and they even have like a conversation about, you know, Ethan being upset and stuff. I thought that was great. And there's also something that they do toward the end of the film with him that I thought was pretty interesting with where it played out. And so that was great. And then there's really more I can go into detail, but I mean, this movie is just full of just so much that I expected with Mission Impossible, and I couldn't get enough of it. And it definitely makes me really excited for part 2, because we've been getting this trend now with this year where we're getting a lot of, like, you know, cliffhanger movies that are living into the next film as a continuation stuff. You know, we had it with Fast X, we had it with Spider-Man. This one, it seems like it stuck out in that it really felt like a completed film, sort of. Well, really, but then they're setting up a more grander scale in the next film, if that makes sense. And so I really appreciate that they were able to make it to where it's not just, you know, abruptly cutting off. They actually do really, you know, resolve everything with what they were going for, but then they have to lead to something bigger in the next film. So I thought that was really a good, nice change from what we've seen earlier this year. And so that was great. And then if I have like any kind of minor cons, I will say that as I'm Morales, like I said, he does have some things they could have really added a whole lot more with his character with. And then on top of that, they could have had a better fight scene with him and Cruz toward the end of it, because it seemed like, when him and Ethan Hunt are going head to head, it seemed like he's getting his ass kicked a little too easily. And so that is kind of a minor thing that I think that they really could have showcased more of the vulnerability side, at least on the physical level. But I still really enjoy his character of how he was still able to outwit a lot of it with the team and stuff. And so overall, despite also some other things like that, there was also another thing too that I do question on with how they handled Rebecca Ferguson coming back. And I do enjoy this film, and she has one of the best she definitely does have a lot of great presence, like she is in these other two films that she's been in, and I really enjoy her character a lot. I just think that there's just something that happens that I can't reveal because of spoilers, but when it happened, I just kind of questioned, like, okay, it just raised a lot more of, okay, what were they really trying to accomplish here? I mean, I kind of get what they were kind of going for, but at the same time, I was like, I get what they were doing, but at the same time, it's like, are they... What are they really doing here, so to speak? It's just something I can't go into spoilers with. But I'll leave it there. But overall, though, I still had a blast with this film, and it's definitely going to be one of my favorite films in the year. And with that, I'm going to give the movie a phenomenal grade on the Film Freaks meter. So, for those of you who have also seen Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next review. I'll see you later.